Hello everyone, how are you? Yeah, it's a little bit cold here, but I think we'll press on. So, yeah, the title of this video, gee, I'm throwing away $1,000,000. Where does that come from? Surprisingly, it's an episode of Tom and Jerry. How about that for inspiration? In case you don't know Tom and Jerry, it's this series of cartoons about a cat and a mouse. In this particular one, I think it's called Million Dollar Cat. I'll post a link to it below. But basically, like Tom, who's like the cat, he inherits $1,000,000. But that's on the condition that he doesn't harm a living thing, not even a mouse. Okay. And so he's doing cartwheels and he's really happy and everything. And he starts living the high life. And then Jerry, who's like the mouse, he also reads the telegram that came through, and he starts doing cartwheels as well, because like the actual clause, as long as he doesn't harm a living thing, not even a mouse, means that basically Jerry can play up all he likes. He can control Tom all he wants, because he knows that if Tom goes against that and starts sort of attacking Jerry, he's going to lose all his money. So anyway, so the cartoon progresses, and Tom moves into this really classy sort of Park Avenue apartment, and Jerry, like, he has like a little sort of mouse hole sort of apartment next door, and so on, and of course, as these Tom and Jerry cartoons go, Jerry starts trolling Tom and starts playing up, and then the moment that like Tom starts getting angry, Jerry he wheels out this telegram, and that clause, not even a mouse. Well, I mean, all right, so some spoilers if you haven't seen it, but the thing is that like eventually Tom's just had enough of it, and he decides, I've had enough of this, and so he ends up getting his revenge on Jerry. And then in one of those rare Tom and Jerry cartoons, because they're mostly like silent comedies, they're very sort of slapstick orientated, but in one of those rare moments, Tom actually turns to the camera, breaks that fourth wall, and says, gee, I'm throwing away $1,000,000. But then there's like this big grin forms on his face, and he goes, but I'm happy. So what's all this got to do with like music and guitars and whatnot? Basically, it's like a lot of those Tom and Jerry cartoons. If you actually look at them as like sort of morality plays, allegories. I know maybe I'm overreading it. It's just a cartoon. Yeah, it is just a cartoon. But sometimes, in those old classic sort of animations, they used to put a lot of more thought into them than perhaps they do these days. And if you've ever had a cat, or you've got friends who've got cats, you know that they're always inquisitive, and they've got those sort of hunter instincts. That primarily one of the reasons why people have cats, apart from companionship, is to cut down on predators. Like mice or rats or whatever. So the idea that that Tom inherited all this money on the premise that he doesn't harm a mouse, is kind of like going against his instinct, if you know what I mean. Because it's going to be it's going to be a strong instinct for a cat to want to chase mice, and etc. etc. So he's going against an instinct. So in another way, you can kind of see how like Jerry the mouse, it's almost like that sort of twig of like it's like twig of consciousness. His conscience telling him there's something wrong. There's something artificial about just suddenly becoming a millionaire and not having worked for it, or not really knowing how to live that life. Sort of almost like this is like some of the actual humour about like the the sort of the millionaire lifestyle. You know, saying that if you're not used to that way of living, there's going to be something really artificial about it. It's going to be sort of quite fake. You know, so that's really what I want to get at here, is this idea of you know, trying to avoid that sort of fakeness. I mean, musicians call it selling out. You know, where you know, like your favourite band or whatever, they suddenly change style and they go more commercial, or you know, then the lineup changes, and then they produce these. So you know, they release. This is like the classic models. You know, like they release these very highly produced records with the intention of selling more, but it's actually more detrimental to what the band were doing in the first place, or you know, or they sort of burn out because it's, you know, they're going against what they got together for as a band in the, you know, in the first place. Of course, that's a traditional model, you know, like you know, forming a band, getting the record deal, and album tour, blah blah blah, becoming a millionaire overnight, becoming celebrated, blah 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 blah. Of course, it doesn't work that way anymore. You know, we got things like YouTube, so other social media platforms, and in a way that, you know, we got streaming instead of like sort of hefty album sales. You know, so you're not going to become a millionaire from album sales alone, or I would say it's going to be very difficult for you to do that. So instead, we have this, you know, the YouTube personality, you know, and I'm also almost thinking about, I don't know if, like with whether you've seen any Victoria Wood, but she had this character called, you know, Mrs. Overall, who was like in this spoof soap opera, and there's like this interview with her, supposedly this mock interview. It's Julie Walters basically, and she's saying, oh, I'm a huge star, I've captured the heart of the nation, and you know, and of course she's just this really pretentious actress, and you know, and then there's that that follow-up series to the Young Ones, Filthy Rich and Cat Flap, you know, and Rick Mayall, you know, being like sort of Richie Rich, and he's going, oh, I don't need money, I'm a show business personality, and being sort of almost infatuated with like the fame and celebrity, but of those sort of celebrities who were sort of kind of on the tail end of their career, you know, and were sort of like, you know, has-beens sometime, or how many decades ago, 30, 40 years ago, but people still loving them for what they were doing 30 or 40 years ago, rather than, well, have they done anything novel now? Have they done anything groundbreaking now? You know, so so there's that. I mean, that's like to do with alternative comedy, you know, like, but even like alternative comedy, I mean, we're talking like well, over 40 years since the Young Ones and Filthy Rich and Cat Flap. So it's really, it's what I'm saying is it's more about that sort of strive to find something authentic. You know, if you're picking up the guitar and you're just thinking, yeah, I'm going to be famous one day, and well, that's all very well, but if it's kind of sort of almost like you know, you're stuck in a dead end job, and you're thinking that, like, right, well, I'll form a band, I'll make a record, and then I'll quit my day job and I'll become a millionaire, and then that's just like, that is just pure delusion. You know, there's absolutely no evidence that that's going to happen. It may happen, and it has happened, of course, you know, but that's, you've got to understand that these are like the absolute rarities. And we also got things like you know, like with reality television, you know, like you know, these talent shows, and these other things, you know, like, was it Love Island? And I saw some clip this morning about it was like in Australia, about some girl who was talking about how like that they're convinced that that the moon is bigger than the Earth, and but you know, so whoever's recruited people for these sort of shows, it's almost like put together almost like a freak show, you know, kind of like, ha, look at the stupid girl who thinks that the moon's bigger than the earth, ha ha ha, you know, or like, you know, like these, you know, things like X Factor and Pop Idol and you know, the whatever, you know, Got Talent, you know, we've got Britain's Got Talent, and there's America's Got Talent, or you know, whatever country you're in has got talent, and quite often they'll just put acts on, almost just like, you know, like I say, just, oh, let's have a laugh at the freaks. Whereas, like, you know, the freaks, they are kind of convinced that they're going to be famous, and then of course they're becoming famous for the wrong reasons. You know, becoming famous because people are laughing at them. You know, well, what kind of laugh is that? I mean, when I say laughing at them, I don't mean sort of like, you know, the same way you'd laugh at a comedian, but laughing at their ambition. You know, it's almost like sort of, almost like the, you know, like ancient Rome. You know, all you need is like sort of Russell Crowe as, you know, my name is Maximus Decimus. You know, like, you know, all we need is like just like the gladiators thrown in as well, or just like, you know, because basically, you know, these people are being thrown to the lions. You know, it's, so we don't need that. You know, so so just to try and bring it back a bit more on track, you know, gee, I'm throwing away $1 million, but I'm happy. It's kind of, don't be sucked in by this delusion that, you know, that you're going to be, you know, that suddenly you're just going to be rich and famous. I mean, I talk about Faust and whatever another time, but just, you know, just in closing, you know, there is that, you know, that was like, what does it profit a man if he inherit the whole world and loses his soul? You know, it's something along those lines, you know, where you may, yeah, you may have that sort of ambition or whatever, you know, oh yeah, I'll get me 100,000 subscribers, and I'll get all these endorsement deals, and I'll become famous for this, and I'll become famous for that. But then secretly there's this mouse running around who's trolling you, telling you that this is all fantasy. You know, you need to come back to reality. You know, and so, you know, all right. So I mean, at the moment, I'm only on around like, what, 400 or so subscribers. But what I'm doing here, you know, I'm just trying to remain authentic. You know, the idea is like taking manageable steps. You know, if I'm reviewing a gear, it's stuff that I like. It's not necessarily stuff that, like, somebody's, you know, I'm not trying to push something on I'm not trying to push an agenda onto people. I'm just trying to, you know, just be honest about things that I like and I like doing. Likewise, you know, like with you know, I hope to get some gigs again. All right. Well, at the moment that's a slight stumbling block, because I don't know whether, you know, do I want to be like just a solo guitarist, or do I want to put another band together? If I'm putting another band together, then I've got all the palaver of like recruiting people. You know, finding a decent drummer, which is like, you know, pretty tricky. Finding a bass player. Do I need a vocalist? You know, do I need another guitarist? Do I need a keyboard player? You know, what sort of style are we going to do? Can we all agree on what we're going to do? Is it just my band, or am I going to be part of a unit and we vote on everything democratically? Or if I'm doing solo stuff, am I just, you know, I'm playing jazz standards and things, or my, you know, so it's a sort of a niche market, or am I doing my own stuff and sort of like it's a bit hit and miss where people are actually going to enjoy it, you know. But at least I want to be honest about it, you know. That yes, I want to get out there and start playing again, but it's where do I start, you know? And you know, so yeah, so really, so just to sum up, you know, it's just about just staying true to yourself. And the moment that, you know, you might be seduced by this bigger picture, it's just, you know, how does that fit with you as a person, with all the, you know, the continuity of all the steps of your life? Are you, you know, and it's almost like being Great Gatsby into it now, you know, the whole thing about sort of, you know, I talk about that another time, but, you know, sort of, you know, reinventing yourself as this person, but almost like forgetting your past. You can't do that because that past is always going to come out, you know. So so I hope you got something from this. This is something I've been thinking about for a while, and I have got some follow-up videos to do on this very topic. So thanks for watching. As always, please consider subscribing, and I'll see you next time.